Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. On this Thursday, we have a lot to talk about today. Of course, we're going to recap flooding, but we're going to talk about the full moon. We're going to talk another Isobar episode coming up.
That's right.
A lot to get to.
And we even have a new movie coming out called Snakes in a Pool. It's kind of like Snakes on a Plane, but it's
slightly different.
It's not that, but it is video that you should probably stick around to
yes.
see. We'll give you a heads up in case you're not a snake fan like my mom. But we first have to go down, and this is obviously going to be a lead weather story for quite some time, potentially months or years, like we were talking about yesterday. Flooding impact can be a generational thing. So we go down to Texas. There, the number of flood victims expected to continue to rise. More than 170 people unaccounted for in Central Texas. The death toll above 100. Volunteers there making sure that the teams actually have the fuel they need to actually get the job done. Fox's Rebecca Castor is in Kerr County, and she has the latest.
We've been talking about so much tragedy over the last few days. We wanted to show you something good. We are at a distribution site here in Kerr County where hundreds of volunteers are doing everything they can to support these search crews that are out there just seeing the unimaginable.
We knew that this was going to be tragic beyond description.
Within hours after Friday's deadly floods swept across Central Texas, a surge of nonprofits arrived on the ground to provide crucial support to survivors and keep the thousands of first responders and volunteers going.
We continue to move with them as they move downriver.
Search teams are not giving up until every missing flood victim is found, and groups like Mercy Chefs are making sure they're staying fed, providing more than 4,000 meals every day across 15 locations.
They're like, I saw things today I can never unsee. So we're trying to stand with them.
We're Texas strong. That's what the hat says. That's what Texans do. We help each other.
Volunteers say it's critical teams on the ground have what it takes to keep going.
Food, I believe, gives them the strength.
This, as a local sheriff says, first responders are spending what little time they have to rest, still going back out into the field.
16, 18, 20-hour shifts. But rather than taking a day off, a much well-deserved day off, he volunteered to go out on foot with a ground search party.
State lawmakers are now getting involved to make sure a tragedy like this does not happen again. Governor Abbott has ordered a special session for lawmakers to address upgrading the flood warning systems. In Kerr County, Texas, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
And we'll continue to, of course, bring you any new information that we receive, and our hearts just go out to everybody in Texas dealing with that tragedy.
Right. So many folks are going to be talking about this for a while, and it will be something of a subject of, industry talk as well, but how we can do better next time.
Absolutely.
On many, many levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go to New Mexico. We're in the same situation in a very different way it played out, but look at this video.
Yeah, a crazy video from the moment water filled an office in Ruidoso, New Mexico. So after monsoon rains triggered a deadly flash flood just a couple days ago, the flood water tore through the mail order business Ruidoso Trading Post on Tuesday. Dozens of homes and buildings were damaged. The flash flood killed at least 3 people, including 2 children. Crews are working to clear out debris from homes and from the streets.
What a
crazy
shocking
footage.
Obviously there's some time lapse going on here, but just incredible power of that water. Everything just starts to float, and the speed at which it just fills that office. It's just shocking.
Puts it into perspective.
Now, other witnesses, of course, say the flood, just basically took out everything in its path, washed it away. Monsoon rains, as we pointed out on Tuesday. Authorities say 3 people were killed, as we pointed out, including the children. People who live in the mountain town of Ruidoso said many houses in the community were just absolutely swept away.
I saw everybody's stuff come through here. It was tragic. You watched everything they owned, everything they had, everything went down. This was the worst ones we've ever had. It was absolutely unbelievable.
So crews are still working, of course, to clear out the debris as the rescue efforts and recovery efforts continue there. Some very stark video for sure. And that's not the only spot we've seen flooding, not just the Southwest.
Yeah, maybe not to that extent,
No.
but severe storms and wind whipping across the Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia region last night, leading to flood warnings and a tornado warning. So pretty incredible pictures that you can see from that area, the DMV, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it's the local nickname for Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. And you can see some of the wind damage there.
Incredible.
The flooding was extensive. The downpours lately just seem to be so much more intense. And that might be something we'll be talking about locally as well in the days ahead. There's some of the flooding video there. Now, of course, when we get flooding, you need to take precautions.
Yeah.
And in areas where you can somewhat anticipate it a little better, like hurricane-prone regions, they are helping folks kind of prepare. In the city of Orlando, they're handing out free sandbags ahead of the peak of hurricane season, which of course is coming up. We're in hurricane season, but it peaks toward the end of it. So folks in that area could pick them up. It's called Streets and Stormwater. It's a facility that they can get to right there, and they'll be doing that for the next couple of days. It kind of puts it in perspective, what kind of how life is different there in an area that's so frequented by floods that you have to have a distribution plan for sandbags, and obviously, hopefully, that will do some good and help save some property and potentially some lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, they're prone to this in this area when it comes to hurricanes. The odds are they'll deal with at least one tropical system, as we all know. So it's all about preparation.
Even though it's been a slow start, we could easily see a strong finish to the hurricane season. And now I said we may see some flooding, and we have had some pretty heavy rain recently, and it's coming again.
You're right. We are looking here locally tonight, tomorrow, Saturday, at a chance for thunderstorms. And not only do we have a marginal risk for some severe weather the next couple of days, but also those tropical rains, our dew points are going to be high, especially Friday into Saturday. So heavy rainfall, even here locally, could be a possibility. Now, there's a decent amount of activity across the central and eastern U.S. right now. You can see all that green along the East Coast, and even here in the upper plains, you can see numerous areas of rain from the Dakotas into parts of Minnesota. All that activity out east continues from some of the storm coverage that we talked about late last night in that Maryland, Delaware area. It's all continuing to track up towards the northeast, and it's just about out of here, but still could see along the East Coast thunderstorms for today, including some potential severe weather. Now, here locally, we're watching a storm system out towards the west, bringing some rain to Minnesota as well as northern Iowa. As it tracks eastward, it is weakening and will eventually fizzle. That being said, even those of us in eastern parts of Wisconsin could start to see some storms later on this evening. Also, this is really cool. I was watching some of our tower cams, Rob, and maybe you can confirm this, thinking these are gravity waves, which are just those little lines. If you look up in the sky and you see just numerous lines of cloud cover, our Brown Deer camera actually showed some earlier today during the 11 o'clock news. So thinking that's what those are. Pretty fascinating stuff. You're right. Exactly. It's pretty cool. There are more storms, too, across South Dakota as well as Nebraska. So unsettled across the central as well as eastern U.S. There is a severe threat today in that same spot that had the severe threat yesterday, although haven't heard of anything crazy from out west yesterday. So that's some good news. But you'll notice parts of Nebraska and especially western Iowa under that level 3 enhanced risk. So a fairly small area, but then the slight extends down to almost Denver and into parts of Kansas, and then a few separate spots along the East Coast with the severe threat. Looking ahead to tomorrow, you start to see that marginal inching its way eastward. It does include parts of Wisconsin, including southern Wisconsin, with that level 2 slight risk just towards the southwest of us. So we will be watching tomorrow off and on throughout the day the potential for a strong to severe thunderstorm across central as well as southern Wisconsin. Now, Saturday, a cold front is going to be moving through. So we are also under a marginal risk for a stray strong to severe thunderstorm. So although it's not the highest threat for severe weather, we could still see some. And with that also comes the potential for heavy rainfall. In fact, some of the spots that even see some of these heavier pockets of rain move through, it's not out of the question that you end the weekend with, over 2 inches of rainfall. So something just to keep in mind in the coming days that we ourselves could see some pretty heavy rain thanks to all of the moisture that we'll have. From here on out, we'll just be watching clouds increasing and some showers pushing their way eastward throughout central parts of Wisconsin. This is right around 6-7 p.m. So starting to see more thunderstorms firing, potentially from Eau Claire down to Milwaukee. And that'll continue then through our nighttime hours and on into the first half of Friday. I do think we'll see a little bit of dry time, maybe midday Friday, but still a lot more in the way of development then later Friday afternoon and evening, especially in the southern half of Wisconsin, with more along the cold front then way out towards the west. That's what we'll likely see throughout the day on Saturday. Now, same story. I don't think Saturday is going to be a washout either, but as that frontal boundary starts to make its way on through, timing a little up in the air there. It could be midday, it could be later in the afternoon, but as it rolls on through, as you can see, it is still going to bring in at least a brief period of some showers and thunderstorms, and then late in the day Saturday, we should begin to dry things out. And Sunday looks really nice as well. We talked about that heavy rainfall threat. This is actually from the Weather Prediction Center, one of the products that they put out. You know, a heavy rainfall outlook is a simple way of putting it, but it has those same categories as our severe threat. So notice, you know, how parts of southeast Wisconsin over into southwestern Wisconsin under that slight risk, meaning that heavy rainfall is going to be a possibility. And we really see that spreading up towards the north on Friday and even Saturday. Speaking of that rainfall, as we talked about, in some spots, I don't think it's going to be widespread. In some spots, we could end Saturday with potentially over 2 inches worth of rainfall if we end up seeing some of these stronger storms roll on through. Now, temperatures today, very similar to yesterday. We're going to see 80s away from the lake, 70s near Lake Michigan up to Green Bay. There is still a lot of heat, especially down towards the southwest. I know we're, watching record high temperatures in the southwest, specifically the Phoenix area, but there are still a lot of spots that are going to see abnormally warm temperatures in the 90s. That being said, a lot of the records for the rest of us are all in the triple digits. This is kind of a cool map to look at. So it's really just the southwest that will be nearing the record highs today. Everybody else falling short, but still going to be really hot. And I know you're thinking, when are we going to get that? Whenever we see that heat out west, we know it's going to move in eventually. We are going to warm things up a bit more on Friday. It's really, I think, early next week, Monday into Tuesday, that we'll start to feel some of the higher heat and humidity. I don't think we're going to see 90s, but it is going to get a little steamier early next week compared to what we've had as of late. And dew points will also follow suit. It's going to be a muggy Friday, Saturday. We'll get a brief break on Sunday, but then those dew points look to climb Monday as well as Tuesday of next week.
Lots of air you can wear out there. Yeah. And you were talking about the heat in the southwest. Record-breaking heat, could be breaking records again today. They saw another day of that yesterday. And the folks that were rolling into the airport there, they had a hard time dealing with it.
Once I landed here, I felt like, oh my God, I'm going to die right away.
It's really hot. We just got in from upstate New York, and it was about 80 degrees there today. And this is really hot.
Well, I'm a grad student at ASU, so I guess I've been used to the heat a bit, but this is unbearable, I would say.
I don't know, I mean, how do you guys live here? It's too hot.
I'm gonna die right away.
Why do you live here?
That's the best quotes ever, and I understand that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us have taken southern vacations in the middle of a Wisconsin winter, and you roll in and you're happy because you're out of the cold for a little bit, but you're like, whoa, this is a lot. I can't even imagine, 114, 115, and you can say it's a dry heat, but it's still 115 degrees.
My sister lives in Phoenix, and she called me last night on her evening walk, so it was after sunset. Still 106 degrees, and she told me she felt like someone was blowing a hot hair dryer on her.
It's like standing in front of the furnace or something. Yeah,
so,
wow. All right, so lots going on, and there's a lot to talk about when it comes to meteorology. We have a brand new episode of our all-weather podcast, which is called the ISOBAR, the highs and lows of meteorology. Episode 4 is live now on Fox Local On Demand, and you can get it on the Fox 6 YouTube channel as well. And we did get into what we talked about before, the need for the meteorological community to take a look at what happened in Texas and see how we can do better next time. Listen to this.
On my watch, I hope it never happens, something like that. Does that make sense?
I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And something that I've been really thinking about since the news of all of this came about is how can we do our jobs to get that messaging better, right? That's always the big conversation that we end up having as meteorologists after a big event like this. Were there any missteps? And in this point, it doesn't appear like there are. It's just, how do we get that message to the public faster? Where do we fall within our role of doing that and relaying the alerts coming in? And unfortunately, everything that unfolded in Texas, it came through at such an awful time of day in the middle of the night when so many people are sleeping. So even if there were those messages going out, and we do know that there were flash flood emergencies being issued, when people are sleeping, there's a really good chance that they're not getting those.
So the Isobar is available on demand, or you can watch it. It will be the new episodes will be on Wednesdays at 6:30, and then we'll have a replay Thursday afternoon and again Saturday afternoon. But of course, you can get it anytime you want on YouTube or the Fox Local channel, so check it out. We'll be back with more Wisconsin weather experts right here on Fox Local. All right, welcome back. We've got the Wisconsin weather experts for you, and it's full moon tonight.
It's full moon tonight. Parents, you know it.
Yes, that's right.
Carl mentioned it earlier, and I had to laugh.
Parents, teachers, coaches, they always know when the full moon is coming.
Not just the animals know. Parents know, too, because our kids are crazy.
Yes.
But the July full moon is called the buck moon. It is officially full, actually, this afternoon, which is kind of cool. We won't see it rising until around 9 o'clock, but it will still appear full. But it is actually named the buck moon because this is the time of year where deer, or bucks, male deer I should say, start to grow their antlers.
There you go.
So just some little, fun fact behind the name of that.
Yeah, well, there's always like some sort of animal or plant connection, because before that way, you can see the list behind us here. The strawberry moon, the flower moon.
The entire year.
The buck moon. And then if you're out there's the list right there. Next is sturgeon moon.
Yeah, August.
There you go. And then probably the most famous would be the harvest moon. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
There's a great song about it by Neil Young. But yeah, the buck moon tonight.
There you
Make
go.
sure you check it out and prepare for the kiddos. But not only the kiddos, the animals. If you're planning a road trip this summer, if you want to be safe, environmental engineers are warning that drivers hitting the streets during a full moon, there's actually an increased risk for you to come in contact with wildlife, to hit wildlife. The next full moon, of course, is tonight, and experts are sharing some tips so that you can avoid running into folks. We've got Fox News' Ted Linder reporting.
With more people taking to the streets for summertime road trips, some folks may be out traveling later than others. But would-be drivers may want to avoid staying out when the moon is at its brightest. Research from Dr. Dominic Lord of Texas A&M University found there's a 46% increase in car crashes with wildlife during a full moon.
and this risk is very serious.
After collecting 10 years of collision data across Texas, Dr. Lord and his team believe wildlife animals are more active during full moons.
Since they're able to see more, they may be able to be more active to hunt at night. And because of that, they are probably more likely to cross roads.
This is especially true in more rural areas.
In urban areas, there's a light pollution, so the wildlife is probably less affected by the lighting of the surroundings. Whereas in rural areas, we don't have as much street lights.
Hitting an animal with a vehicle is tragic, and the impacts can be especially devastating. If a car hits an animal, its height is at or above the windshield.
The main body of the animal will go through the windshield and can injure and even fatally injured the vehicle occupants.
But swerving to avoid animals can also be problematic.
It's because if you try to swerve very heavily or strongly, you can lose control of the vehicle, you can roll over.
If you must drive during a full moon, experts recommend reducing normal speeds and increasing your alertness. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
That's interesting.
It's kind of fascinating. I gotta say, it kind of makes sense to
does.
me because I've driven, a lot of times in rural areas, and all of us, it just seems like they're very busy, even approaching and just past the full moon, which, as the expert was pointing out, the additional light, because even if it's 98% full, you're still getting quite a bit more light, and the activity that I find, I drive down Mequon Rangeland Road quite a bit. The turkeys, there's always turkeys out, and they aren't as active at night, but sometimes on a full moon you'll see them, and when they come out from the side of the road there, they're not as big as a deer, so you don't see them right away.
Right.
But they'll still do some damage to your car. Fortunately,
So
touch wood.
keep that in mind.
I have been safe. I've also, so far, touch wood, been safe in pools that you want to get, it's hot, we want to get in the pool, we want to cool down, but experts are saying you gotta be careful and find out what's also floating around in that water. Fox's Sean Langill reports.
While water parks, pools, and fountains are hot spots on hot summer days, health experts warn there can be potentially dangerous bacteria lurking around that can put a damper on your fun in the sun.
Pools, water parks, and fountains are a great way to beat the summer heat. Unfortunately, some germs can resist chlorine long enough to spread from one person to another. These include norovirus, bacteria like E. coli, and parasites like Cryptosporidium and Giardia.
According to Bill Sullivan, microbiology professor at Indiana University, one of the best ways to avoid getting sick is to not ingest the water.
Swallowing any of these germs can cause stomach problems like severe diarrhea, which can lead to dehydration. To avoid becoming infected, swim in well-maintained facilities.
But Professor Sullivan says we can all help prevent the spread of germs this season.
To avoid infecting others, stay out of public water for at least a week if you've been sick.
Meanwhile, ponds, rivers, and lakes can also contain similar germs that can cause stomach problems if swallowed. Open wounds, new tattoos, or piercings can also become infected if exposed to germs in the water.
So cover up with a waterproof bandage.
Meanwhile, if you prefer to go hiking instead of swimming, you could still encounter bacteria in water if you're not careful.
You might find water that looks clean enough to drink, but don't be tempted. Be sure to boil or properly filter water that you drink to avoid bacteria like E. coli and parasites.
Sean Langill, Fox News.
Yeah, some great reminders there.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have little kids, I have little kids.
Yeah.
It's tough to make them not put the water in their mouths or spit the water in the pool, but they get that bug that one time. Hopefully it's one of the lower end bugs in the threat scale there, but you get it one time and suddenly they figure it out pretty quick.
Yep. All right, let's take a live look outside right now. Mitchell International Airport. I wonder where those planes are going.
That's right.
I wonder where.
Where are they taking off to?
We'll be right back. Megan, everybody. Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts here on Fox Local and our Fox 6 YouTube page.
All right, trigger alert if you are afraid of snakes.
Not watching.
Mom, if you're watching, look away. Leave it on, but look away. It is, yes, a python in a pool. Snakes in a pool. Family in Florida got quite the surprise at a ball python crashing their pool party. Ooh. Family says the snake slithered its way onto the pool deck. They had no idea the snake was there until their dog started barking. Dog to the rescue, right? Carlos Nunez and his daughter say had it not been for the dog, the snake could have ended up in their house. The family called for help and an area sheriff's deputy came out to the rescue.
I'm scared of snakes, so I called my wife and we tried to keep it in place so that it wouldn't escape. And then I called the police so that they could come pick it up.
Yep, hard pass on that.
Yep, that's not the pool noodle I was looking for.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine?
That's right. That's a whole different experience for sure. Of course, it's Florida. They have these strange experiences all the time. That's why we live here in Wisconsin, and we appreciate you for doing that too. We'll be back tomorrow with more Wisconsin Weather Experts.